All right, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Living the Dream podcast. Today on the show, we have Lou Everett and Sherri Mcmanus of the Lou Everett Group. They are certified leadership coaches and corporate trainers. How are y'all doing today?
Doing awesome. Appreciate you having us on.
Yeah, of course. No, I appreciate you guys coming on, and we like to jump right in. So if you can start with telling us a little bit about yourselves and what you guys like to do for fun, that'd be great.
Sounds good. Sounds good. You want to start off with telling them who we are?
Yeah, I can.
You're good at it.
Sure. Well, yes, I'm Sherri, and this is Lou here. And for those of you that do not know, we are actually a married couple, and we are the Lou Everett Group. So we are business and executive leadership coaches and corporate trainers. And we help small business owners and professionals to achieve over 500% growth in their business and professional lives through our proprietary coaching system. So we love transforming today's leaders. And even if it's one person at a time, that's what actually makes us happy. It really does.
And I think it's impressive that she admits that she's married to me. So I'm pretty happy there. Especially in business. What do we like to do for fun? Is that what your other question you asked was?
Yes, sir.
What do we like to do for fun? Well, that's a tough question, as we seem like we tend to work a lot, which is what a lot of business owners do. But I know for me, I do an awful lot of, you do this a lot more too now, is I do a lot of reading. I'm big in reading. I try to do everything I can to fit that in. So besides reading, we do like to travel when we can and when it's safe. We do like to do travel in different locations. So those are a couple of things. What about you? Did you want to add to that?
Yeah, I do. Being I'm not an avid reader. I'll be honest with that, and even we're in this leadership space and the best leaders out there, they always are learning and growing, and reading is a part of their regimen. So I had to really dive deep and over the years, I was like, all right, I really got to read and it's helpful, especially the reading that you want to read, not when you're in school, those readings that you're just kind of don't want to read those. It's not so enjoyable, but now knowing what I know now, it's becoming more enjoyable as I go through, and it helps me, and it really helps our partnerships with our clients. So it's a win-win all the way around.
Yeah, I love to hear that. Reading can be so stigmatized coming out of like college or coming out of high school, because you just, man, they have you read the just most useless. Like, it is just not relevant to anything ever. And so it's a whole new world when you realize that you can read things that are relevant to your life.
That's right.
Enjoy it. So I love that.
That's right.
And Sherri, I'm glad that you said that you guys are a married couple, because I was going to ask, but then I was like, but if they're not, that's going to be weird.
Yeah, we actually started our first business back in 2005 when we first got together. About 4 months getting together, moving in, and then let's start a business. No, not so many order, but that's in a short story.
We learn fast that we could do it. That'll make or break a relationship in the beginning, but we worked it out. We figured it out.
Yeah, glad to hear y'all worked it out, because that can be very stressful.
Yes, it can be. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, let's jump into a little bit more about y'all's motivation. What gets you up and keeps you going every day?
Yeah, for me, I'll go. Is actually we narrowed it down to, at least for me, is the North Star, which is really aligning our mission and our purpose, and really having that center of why. I mean, yes, there's Simon Sinek, that's like, the why, which is the most famous, of course, but he does have a point that is accurate. You have to find your North Star to figure out those days where you just don't want to get out of bed, and to find out, why am I doing this? Especially as an entrepreneur or business owner, there's going to be days, there's ebbs and flows of business, and you sit back and you're like, why am I doing this? And then you realize, like, well, what is my why? What is my value, my purpose? And that is what gets me up every day. If I can help and give value to others, even if it's just one person, that has made my day. And every day I strive for that, and it's important.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that it's what motivates me to continue on to do what we do, and get up in the morning, or to my challenge is going to bed at night, because once I get going and that motivation continues, where we're supporting people, we're working with our clients, we're gaining new clients, and we're changing and transforming leaders. It's kind of a day of anticipation every day. We live with that anticipation of, okay, what's next? And if we can be driven as business owners and professionals and those and whatever you're passionate about, to be driven to ask that question all the time, like, what's next? And if you're not awake and if you're not moving, you're not going to be available for what's next. And so that's my motivation. And mainly, I think curiosity is what happens to me too, is because I'm curious on what's going to happen. I want to know I want to be here when it happens. A great example of this is yesterday, I'm in my office across the hall, and Sherri's here in her office, and she's working, and she slides over and says, "Hey, I just got this email from such and such contact that we've been in relationships with, conversation for over a year, and says they just asked us about if we would be available to do some training on leadership and some other topics." And I says, "Well, let's get on and talk to them now." Of course, I'm excited. I go in her office, I'm like, "Well, let's get on, see if they're available," just because that is what we live for, is to be a part of transforming other people. And of course, it worked out great, and we are working towards a great relationship. But that's one of the reasons why what keeps me motivated is not knowing what's next and being a part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I guess I want to ask you guys something specific to leadership. What is the most common transformation that leaders need to go through when they first become leaders?
Mm-hmm.
So you're asking what's the most common that we see that they need to go through kind of first?
Yes.
Well, it's not all about you.
Yeah, that's a good. It's not all about you. It's about other people, right?
Yeah.
But it does start with you, though.
Mm-hmm.
And so that transformation needs to begin with you as the leader. It's a personal transformation. We talk about this a lot, where you can, as a leader, you can only give at the limit of your own personal growth. You can't give beyond where you are. It's impossible. You can try, but it's not going to be effective. So in order to give what you don't have right now, you've got to grow that so that you can give it, whether that's in family or in business or your professional leadership life. So it starts with you, because it ends with you too. So it's got to begin with developing you before you can begin developing other leaders, which is one of our number one responsibilities as a leader, is to develop others.
And it's one of our principles.
Absolutely is. Yeah. Is the me principle. Number one of our empowerment principles of the 10 principles that every leader must follow to lead with influence. Number one is the me principle, that it needs to be to focus on your own personal development in order for you to be able to give and support other people.
Yeah.
Did you want to add anything to that?
No, I just wanted to make sure that that was part of that, and that was a great lead up, to that question, to that question.
Yeah.
I love that. The me principle. I think it's very easy. I know I experienced this in college. I was like, I want to end poverty. So I started working on it, and I started working towards it, and I was like, but I'm broke.
Right.
And so it was something I had to realize of, like, man, I really do have to take care of me, or I could not take care of other people.
Right.
So.
And that's what it is. And it's interesting, right? Because depending on the culture that we've been raised in and how we've been taught, or maybe what we think and been developed to believe, we might think that like the me principle, I've mentioned this before, but like, well, that seems real selfish. You're thinking about you. Well, no, that's not what we're saying here. It's not about thinking about you. It's thinking the big picture. Is what can you do for other people if you do not have the resources to do that? You can't do much, right? Not much. And they're not going to expect much from you either. Whereas if you have those resources, the more resources you have, the more resources you can give. So that's why we believe that everybody needs to be wealthy, because then you can give more to other people. That's whether wealth means money, whether wealth means owning a lot of different property, whatever it is. in your mind what wealth means. We need to be there so we can give to those that are needing us to serve them, that we don't even know about yet.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. I see it as like a stewardship thing. Like we have all these resources available to us, and it's like, are you stewarding what you have well? If you're in America and you have access to all this technology and the good infrastructure that our society has, it's like, man, you should not die broke. You just shouldn't. So anyway.
That's it. That's true. It's a good point. As a steward, stewardship, or even a calling, right? We've been placed where we are in the universal grand scheme of things for a purpose.
Yep.
And all of us serve that purpose we have a reason to be there. And it's up to us though, on what we do to act on that calling and that purpose.
Couldn't agree
It's up
more.
to us to do that. You could be given anything. A great example of this is, if you ever seen that show, your dad loves this show, The Curse of Oak Island, as an example, right? And they're looking for this treasure, and these people that have been looking for treasures for years and years and years, whether it's there or it's not. But the fact of the matter is those people that are there doing this over the years have received a map and have had this calling to go do this. I'm not going to do that. I don't want to go, sir. I'm not good at that. But the point being is that if we've been given something, then it's up to us to put action towards it, or we're never going to find that treasure. Those there that are on that show, or that are out there searching for treasure hunts, and there's people that do this all the time. If they're not out there doing it, they're never going to get anything. The action needs to happen for you to gain anything in return.
Absolutely. Love it. Very well said. Well, let's go ahead and jump into y'all's dreams and goals now. What's your vision for your life and your company?
Life and company. Okay, those are the two different things there. What about you?
Well, I mean, for our company, our ultimate goal is really to have, if it leads to it, is a brick and mortar, to have actually where businesses and folks can come in to learn additional training on the leadership side. But we also have an IT leg as well. So we have IT training and certifications that we have incorporated on our sister company. So it's a blend, because there's a lot of IT folks that want to level up their skills in certifications, if it's cloud, if it's A+, I mean, the list goes on and on. But they forget that there's these power skills that they need too. They need to know how to communicate well with others. All right. And they tend to forget that, we can get all the tangible skills we want, but there's also those power skills, which commonly is soft skills, but we call them power skills, because, we need that. And this pandemic has shown that we need them. We need, no matter who you are, we need them. We need to tweak what we have.
Yeah, when you take a look at right now, if you go out and research right now, what are the top requested trainings in 2022, even in 2021 and 2022 already, that you're going to see within those top 5, you've got leadership development, communication, then there's information technology and power skills. Like, all of those are listed there. And you see the reason that is the case, if you look at that, every one of those things incorporate people. Yep. So in other words, we've got to develop our people skills in some fashion or another. And so part of our dream as a company is to be that go-to place that whether we are able to provide you what you're looking for, we have a network of resources that can provide that if we cannot. So that is the one thing we want to have available globally. Which luckily we've already kind of accomplished some of that in some countries where we have been reached out to, which is great. But that's ultimately what it is to be able to have enough resources for us to be able to give to at least 50 other companies per year, ideally, so we can support and help them grow too. And So that's one of our dreams as a business, and that brick and mortar accomplishment too would be nice.
Yeah, but there were also the online too. So there's always that facet.
Yeah.
So there's online, brick and mortar. Grow the online business, and it could actually develop into a brick and mortar because people can come and learn and use the resources of not just us but others as well.
Yeah. Personal dreams. For personal dreams. So as I guess for me, I look at things from my perspective. We both have older parents, and so one of my dreams has always been to be able to have a physical setup to where any family member can come and live if they need it. Which we're not quite where we want to be, but we're getting there because we want to be able to support our family in any which way we can and have that availability open to them. That's one of my personal dreams, and also to be able to impact and influence over what I want to say almost 1 million people in my lifetime. That's what I'd like to see, and that I impacted and influenced 1 million people in my life. Just that people can say, I've heard that, I've heard him, I've heard of that, and I was impacted in a positive way. How about you? Any personal dreams?
Well,
besides getting more puppies.
I know, right? I know we got 2 already, so I know I kind of ride on your coattails. It's really, when you've been together for 15 plus years, you kind of dovetails into one. They kind of blend. They become one. Yeah, they become one, right? With that. So that has a lot to do with it. Bringing our family is our core, and to continue to impact on the positive and using our platform for the greater good, to be honest. We know that we can be leaders in the field. We're not the only leaders in the field, but let's be the best that we can be and impact and use our platform for the greater good. And use that.
Continue to be the players in the field and not just the pretenders in the field. That's our goal.
Love that. I love that. Lou, there's this guy whose name is John Ruhlin. He wrote the book Giftology. He has a dream very similar of impacting a lot of people. And I can't remember if he said that he wanted to impact a lot of people on a podcast or if he wanted to do it if he said it in the book. Either way, he said it somewhere where he had a similar goal of, like you said, impact 1 million people in your life. He said impact a very large number of people in his life. I just think that's such a cool goal to think about, because it makes you think bigger of like, okay, what can I do to actually reach 1 million people in an impactful way? So
that's right. And it makes every interaction intentional.
Yep. Absolutely.
Because there's a statistic that shows that says that we are, as people, the average person unintentionally influences 10,000 people in your lifetime. So you unintentionally do that. You influence them, positive or negative, 10,000 people. I mean, that's a big number. People don't realize, like, wow, do I even know 10,000? You don't have to know 10,000 people to influence 10,000 people, right?
Yeah.
Very simply put, you're walking down in the city and you're ready to go to a crosswalk, and you go to a crosswalk and it says you can cross, right? The sign says you cross, but someone doesn't see it and they don't stop, and then you get mad and you give them nice bad hand gestures, and all of a sudden now your influence has now been changed, and that person sees me on a podcast like this, and I'm the one that did that to them. What kind of impact is that going to have on them? But you see, what I mean there is that our influence happens by accident. But imagine if we could turn that around and influence people on purpose and do it intentionally. That 10,000 can easily spun around to a higher number.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Well, if there were 1 or 2 people that you guys can meet right now, this could be a specific person or a type of person, and they'd really help you take the next step towards your dreams and goals, business-wise and life-wise, who would they be and how would they do it?
I can meet them.
You meet them. You usually get the questions of like, who would you like to meet and have dinner with, past or present?
Hey, that kind of fits though too.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm a Christian, I'm a faith believer, and so I mean, I would absolutely love to meet Christ himself and any of the first apostles. Just to see just to really experience that and to gain some of that spiritual insight directly, and kind of in a one-on-one personal basis. We kind of have that right today, but that would be one. I think that would be really cool for me, is because that's kind of a root of mine, that would certainly help me in achieving both professional and personal goals. That's one on the spiritual side. On the other side of that, on a personal, mental, and business, Napoleon Hill. If you ever read anything by Napoleon Hill, man, I would have loved to have met Napoleon Hill if I could go back in time.
Got the law of success right over there.
Yeah, right. just unbelievable stuff, right? So those are two for me.
Yeah. Those are man.
I probably pulled two of them out of your hat.
I know, right? Well, mine would be on the spiritual side. Mine's actually Mother Teresa. I mean, I know we're talking about the past, but you can still live, and they have such a legacy that we, just like Christ, I mean, you can still experience it through others, through books. So Mother Teresa is the same, same through my life. And still, her legacy still lives on. So that would be definitely it. So who's
about business wise or
Think and Grow Rich was Napoleon Hill, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, I was thinking.
Yeah.
Okay. I had a brain fart there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, because I'm
same
rereading that one over again. So that's kind of on my mind right now.
Yeah, one of both of our mentors, one of mine since I was about 12 years old, was John Maxwell. And of course we've been through some training through him, and he's been a mentor of mine now for quite many years, but finally had a chance to meet him in 2018, which was just amazing. So we did get the chance to meet and talk to him, and so that was kind of cool when you get to see and meet people that have been influenced by, which I never thought that I ever get a chance to physically meet him, but we did. So many people we can be impacted by and influenced by, whether they're alive or not, if they've left behind a really good, solid legacy.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, cool. If there were one or two things that everyday people could do to help you guys reach your dreams and goals, what would those things be?
Yeah, that's a great question. The number one thing would be that would help us is number one, begin the first step of your own personal development. It all starts there. And if you're not sure where to begin, because there's just so much out there, to connect with us, just contact us. I mean, we're not gonna charge you to answer an email or give you some suggestions. That's not what we do. So those are the two that I would say right off the top, is start somewhere, because our goal is to impact and influence as many people as we can in our lifetime, positive or negative, and whether we get paid for it or not. So if there's anything you could take away from us and to start, and that is to just start with a deep look at developing yourself personally. Because that will lead into development of other areas of your life. It has to start there. Anything that you want to add to that?
No, I think that it really starts with us. And then, everybody needs to redefine your purpose. And we're talking about that, and to figure out your why. And, everybody needs that, no matter who you are, right? I mean, you just got to redefine it, or maybe even starting in it. So we actually do have an action plan that's passion, purpose, and why that we would love to give to your audience. No charge. It's just a free downloadable little action guide. I'll send the link to you, and you can share with your audience. And we give this to our clients, and it really helps them redefine their passion.
Very easy to do. So yeah, definitely. So there's number two. Go on and sign up just go in and put your information so you get in your email, and do that and start working there. And if you need any more deeper starting points, then connect with us and we'll help you.
There we go. And those links will definitely be in the show notes. So you guys go do that right now.
Awesome.
Cool. Now we're going to jump into our Thriving 3. And so the first question is, what's your favorite book, movie, or podcast? Pick one.
Pick one. Favorite movie, book, podcast. Well, the podcast, I got to pick two is yours, of course. You know, it would not be smart of us to say not. Why would it?
Yeah, I wouldn't have posted it. No, I'm just playing.
But favorite book, that's a tough one because I love reading so much. But I would say it still holds to the fire. One of my favorite books still to this day is Becoming a Person of Influence by John Maxwell. It's just so simply written, but so powerful when put into practice. So that's one of my favorites right there, amongst others. If I was to pull one out, now tomorrow you ask me, it'll be a different one, but that's one that's coming out right now on the influence side of things. How about you?
Yeah, and that, another one that impacted me the most really was another John Maxwell book, but it's still good because it was very impactful. It helped me transform to the leader that I am now, and still going, is the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. That you can read. You can read that one over and over again and still get nuggets of information that's out there. So that's a great one. And I'll throw in a bonus for you for Simon Sinek. Other than the why one, that's a good one. But really, if you want to take it a little bit deeper, is go to the Infinite Game. Sorry. By Simon. That was great. That was super impactful and very eye-opening. So I highly recommend that one.
Yeah, focuses on the mindset in a way, but with action steps, so instead of having a finite mindset, having an infinite mindset, and being able to change the view in your mind of limitation.
Yeah,
I love that. Have you guys ever read The Big Leap?
I'm sorry, The Big Leap?
I've heard of that one.
I have not read that yet. Have you read it? Did you enjoy it?
Yes, I enjoyed it a lot. I just finished. I have like 16 minutes left to the point where he's finished the book. He's doing the recap now. The Big Leap, Gay Hendricks. Very similar to probably Infinite Gains by Simon Sinek, and it kind of talks about the upper limit problem that everybody has, and how with success we have temperature. It's like if you put success on a thermometer, we have a temperature that we're okay at. And when stuff starts to get outside that temperature, that's when we start to act up, have anxiety, have doubt, have fear, to put ourselves back in our temperature that we're comfortable with. So in order to experience your zone of genius, where you're living in your purpose, living in a successful manner, you have to get used to expanding the amount of positivity you allow in your life, which was a really strange concept to me, because I was like, why would you ever inhibit the amount of positivity you have in your life? But it's like we all do it, and that's why we self-sabotage. So it was a cool book.
Good point. Very good point. Yeah, it reminds me of the law of the lid, right? Having that limitation on ourselves with how far we can really go, and being uncomfortable. Funny, I just read something today about this. Now I don't remember where I read it, but it was talking about that. It's something that we hear a lot of. And this is another thing that I'll just throw out there since we're on this topic, is as we all read things and learn new things, be sure that we're learning them and we're not just putting stuff on a shelf. We call it shelf help, right? It's not going to be any good. You've got to learn it, experience what it is that you're learning, and you can only do that by action. And if you're not sure how to act on what you're reading, get people involved that do know how. Get your resources involved that say, how can I put this into practice? Where do I start? Because when you do that, you then begin to get out of your comfort zone. And if you're not uncomfortable in the progress that you're making, then you're not doing it right. You need to be uncomfortable. Okay. It needs to be in that where it's like, man, can I really do this? Now it's a matter of not how can I, it's okay, how can I? What can I bring in to help me do this? Now all of a sudden you're seeing it differently, not can I? Because of course you can. The fact of the matter, and I'm going to say, I'm on a roll here for some reason, and I'm going to say it, so somebody must need to hear this, is that the universe will only attract to you what you can do. If the thought, this is Napoleon Hill entering my body right now, but if the thought enters your mind, if you can think it, then you can become it. I've never thought about becoming a rock star guitar player, even though I've known how to play guitar. I've never been like, oh, I'm going to be a rock star. I'm not good at it. I've never had enough time to put forth into that. I'm not putting the energy into it. But I've thought about speaking in front of thousands of people. And I've thought about the thing, and what we think about, we can become. Doesn't necessarily mean we know how to get there 100%, but it means that we can do it. So instead of saying, can I? Well, if you've thought it, you can. So it's a matter of, or if it's come to you, you can. Right?
Yeah.
And so now it's a matter of, what do I put into practice to make this happen? Remove the lid of limitation, like you were saying, and experience what it is that is going to come at you as you move towards the direction of where your empowered future really is.
Yeah, I love that. And something that I really love that you said there was, you kind of just slid past it, but I think it was so important. You were like, what can I pull in to make this happen? I think that's so key, because, you know, it's insanity to do the same things and expect different results. So it's like, there's this book, Who Not How. When you start like thinking about who you can partner up with, or like what other services you can bring in, what outside yourself that you can kind of, that has the same vision, mastermind principle, Napoleon Hill. I can't even put all this together, but I hope you guys are getting it. It's like, how can you partner? Who can you bring in to like make big things happen? So
it's that circle, right? And it's and again, that's as well, I don't know enough of those people. Well, then find out. All you need to do is get to know the one person that knows somebody you need to know. Yeah. And you're not going to know that unless you take the step to know them. And we're a good example. You want to know us? Connect with us. Find us on social media. Follow the people that we follow. That's how you get your influence. You influence other people, and you get the influence, and you're surrounded by the right people. Be around those and be influenced by those that you are drawn to, because that's going to draw you to where your true empowered future really is.
There we go.
It's not going to be comfortable, but it's not supposed to be.
Yeah.
When it becomes comfortable, it's time to look for another step to make it uncomfortable to grow. It's like anything else. We need to be uncomfortable to grow. I don't know about you, but it seems that I've never experienced becoming a butterfly like a caterpillar does, but I expect that it's most likely uncomfortable for that caterpillar, and messy.
Growth is messy.
To go from a crawling creature on the ground that doesn't have wings to then transforming into this beautiful flying creature. I'm sure that the process that they have to go through is uncomfortable, but when it's done, their purpose has been magnified. Yeah. But they had to go through the process of cocooning, of working to get there, of identifying their purpose, right? Although we're different as humans, because we can choose that purpose. We can say that is our calling, and we now have the ability to change the course of our direction and what direction we want to go.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. Well, let's hear a little bit more about how you guys like to take care of yourselves. Make sure you're at the top of your game.
Yeah, my number one is make sure you get adequate sleep. That is key. Trying to get the sleep, and that's so you don't have the brain fog in the morning. So that's usually key. That's my number one thing, is to make sure I get adequate sleep at a reasonable time. So if not, I pay for it. So it's just not worth it.
Yeah. Sleep is definitely important.
Yeah.
Right. Resting yourself. For me, it's kind of a threefold, right? It's feeding my mind, feeding my body, and feeding my spirit. Because those are the three things that make up who we are as people. And we all have work on all three of those things, some more than others. I love food. And I have always been known to people that know me know that Lou will eat anything, and I will.
Yep.
I've had to learn to manage that as you get older and as your body changes, on making sure I want to be around to influence those million people. I want to be around to influence my grandchildren and my kids, and influence my parents. And so, but physically, mentally, and spiritually need to be fed. And so what I do is I try to feed all of those things as equal as possible. But I put a very big focus on my spirituality, which in tune to me is correlation to my mental health, because that is what keeps me in tune to, first of all, the things I got to work on, and that I have to continue to be better on, and to be real with myself, and to realize I don't always have all the answers, and I need to rely upon something bigger than me to gather those answers or to guide me in the right place. Because if I have all those things and I grow that way, then I can influence, impact, and help people grow at the deepest level possible. So that's what I always keep at the forefront of my mind. So prayer, meditation, whatever you want to call it, and constant feeding of the mind to be able to make myself a better person, and a better professional and a better leader for those that I serve.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what is one action step that you guys can take right now or continue to take if you're already doing it to continue all along to your highest priority dreams and goals, so that impacting the 1 million people and such?
Number one thing is be on more podcasts.
Yeah.
We had a goal last year, 2021. Our goal was to be on 50. We set a goal in the beginning of the year, and we pushed, and we at the end of the year we ended up at 52, so we crushed it. And to continue to do that, that's one of the things that continue to, because it impacts and influences a lot of people at a very large amount. So that's one of the things we're going to work on, trying to continue to do, but be a little bit more intentional about it. Being on podcasts like this, it talks a lot more about how you can really facilitate your dream, but look at your dream as not as something that you only see when you sleep or close your eyes, but becomes a reality with every step that you take. So that's one of the things that I wanted to mention for sure.
Yeah, I mean, one action step that I do, and I really encourage it to anybody else, is do a reflection every day.
Yeah.
I think that's key to find out what's working, what's not working, or even your wins and losses. You know, what lessons did you learn? And some days there really isn't much, for it, but there's always something that you can actually just take that moment to reflect upon. Like, what did you do? Who did you impact? Who did you give value to? Just for today, I had to catch up with the person I've been networking with for over a year. He's gone off to a different business now, so I wanted to catch up with him to see what his new job is all about. And in conversation, because of his new audience, so to speak, I was able to give him a couple nuggets of maybe some other networking opportunities and some organizations that he could tap into that he never thought possible. So that felt good, to really go through and to share that information that is going to help and impact him. And it was just in that conversation, and again, relationships. So think back, I think at the end of the day, we get so caught up and so exhausted. If you're working already, or maybe, you have your job, and that's fine, but there's always something that you can reflect upon, no matter what.
Yeah.
Glad you spelled it out. It's a forbidden word.
I
know. We don't have one of those anymore.
Yeah, I'm still in my job.
So.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for sharing that. We have one last question for you.
Sure.
So you know how there are people on the planet who have that really fixed mindset. They're not willing to accept help. They're not willing to accept change. Sometimes they'll live their whole life like that. Sometimes they'll die like that. Other times they'll make that change to more of a growth mindset, willing to accept help and willing to accept change. In your opinion, what is the catalyst that causes that change?
So you're asking what is the catalyst that causes that moment, almost like of awareness that, all right, it's time for this transformation to happen, to be open, for that window to be open. Is that what you're asking? For the window to be open and for them to actually start taking action. Start doing it. That can be different for a lot of people. and it's a matter of coming from experience. I think if we really all look at it, we've all had times we can look at and say, man, we just weren't ready for this part of our life to have happened. And then there was always a moment of clarity, or whatever you want to call it, that said, why was I doing it this way? And so it's going to happen. And the couple of things I'll hit on with you, and then I'll pass it along here to Sherri, is for everybody, even if you're closed and a lot of time, when it comes down to it, it's about fear. All right, everyone, I mean, that's what we got to think about. So we've got to realize that it's all about fear. We get very accustomed to our own traditions, our how we have been impacted and influenced over the years, people that we have in our life. Right? Jim Rohn says that we are the average of the 5 people we spend most of our time with. Well, if those 5 people that you spend most of your time with, or have up to this point in your life, are closed off to the reality or the need to grow and change, then you're going to feel the same way. So reevaluate that. Not to say that you have to, and I'm one that back, there was a time when I was a certain way in my life, and I was set in my way, and I was not going to become anything different. But if you look at me now and you take a look at me 20 years ago, I'm a different person. And it's all a matter of perspective. So what is the catalyst? The catalyst is awareness. Taking a moment and stop being sick and tired. That is when it's time. When you're just sick and tired, sometimes of yourself.
There we go. Yep.
It's time. And what makes you take that first step, that catalyst that makes you take that first step, is the realization that that success hasn't been happening in you because you haven't taken a step. A mentor of ours, Paul Martinelli, has an amazing phrase, very powerful. He says, success happens where you step, not where you stand.
Yep.
If you're standing and you're not moving, you're not changing. If you're not changing, then you've got your calling, and where your empowered future is way out here, and it's unreachable because you're not even aware that it exists. So the catalyst that causes people, I believe, is awareness, realizing that you're not moving. And when they say down, as low as you can go, or some of us don't even experience lowness. It's more like, I'm just tired of being the same.
Yeah.
Or we hear something on the news, or something our family says sometimes, and it's like, I used to think that way. It's like, I'm tired of thinking that way.
Yep.
You become feeling uncomfortable in your own skin.
Yeah.
Well, that's telling you something. There's a reason for it. Look into the reason.
I think you got some people feeling like that right now, Lou. As
Yes.
they listen to this.
Yeah. And it's okay. Okay. I mean, it's all right to feel that way. And that's one thing I want to make sure everyone understands, is it's okay to feel uncomfortable in your own skin. It to be that moment where you're like, why am I in this place? Why am I not moving forward? Why am I not achieving what I wanted to achieve 10 years ago? Why haven't I done this? It's okay to feel that way. But I'm going to tell you right now, it's time to get out from underneath it and stop being and sulking about it. I'm going to be straight with you. Let's, instead of saying why, say how. Begin with the how. What can I do today to change who I was yesterday? Or maybe not change. How about become better? Maybe more of an evolution, a transformation. Kind of like the butterfly, right? The caterpillar is still kind of the caterpillar. It's still the same kind of thing. It just now changed. It changed, it transformed and became something different, and it lives into its purpose. And we can do the same thing. We've got to begin to look at it from the perspective of, it's okay.
There we go.
It's okay.
See, it's hard to stop him because he's the teacher, right?
I can't help it. I can't help it.
The instructor comes out and he's
Yeah.
like, all right.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Sherri, do you have anything to add, or do we want to leave it there?
Mine's short and sweet. See, that's where I come out. I'm more like
you're good, right to the point.
I try to get short to the point. Mine is just that, when our backs are against the wall, that's when change happens.
Mm-hmm.
When, again, same thing when you say, when you're tired of being sick and tired, and then you're like, okay, I had enough, then you finally will see something. Or the pain is just so great, and that's why there's some low moments that people had to go through.
Mm-hmm.
And when we had to go that, even
we've
for
had
me,
to go through low moments, sure,
from 2018, I was in the ICU in a burn center for 10 days with a rare disease. Was it my lowest moment? Probably, but it was on a more physical, in the fact that it was stopped dead in my tracks, and we weren't sure if I was going to live or die.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you do with that? I mean, thankfully,
you have two choices.
Yeah, you have one or two ways, right?
You sulk in it,
right?
or you make a determination that what am I going to learn from this? What can I do to come out of this? What can I become better after coming out of this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's what Sherri did.
Yeah.
What can I do to be better out of this?
Mm-hmm.
And that is one example. This is what really emphasize and solidify what we do and what our purpose is. Because the impact that happened to her was because of toxic work culture. She wasn't quite out of corporate at that moment. I was already out and I was working the business, and I said, well, it's time. We've been working and getting you out. And now is the time. We need your story. And so the story alone can change people. Mm-hmm. But you're right. Sherri's right. You're going to hit low moments. Yeah. And we're all going to, and there's a reason for those moments. Now it's a matter of determining what are you going to do with them. What are you going to do with those moments that are going to change you and transform you in that moment, that in turn are going to transform and change other people that are around you, which is even a bigger impact. It's called legacy. So you have two choices. Do you want a legacy? Do you want someone? What do you want them to say when your day comes and they are standing up there and giving your eulogy?
Yeah.
What do you want them to say about you? Mm-hmm. And whatever you want them to say about you, make that happen now.
There we go. Well, Sherri, Lou, thank you so much for coming on the show.
You bet. Thank you for having us. It's been a pleasure. Hopefully we'll do it again.
Absolutely. Is there anything else y'all want to chat about before we sign off?
Oh, we covered quite a bit. I think it's really good. So
no, went well. Just reach out to us if anyone wants to talk.
Yeah.
Sounds good. There we go. Well, guys, thank you for listening. If you're listening to this and you loved what Sherri and Lou had to say, make sure to contact them. Go get the worksheet from their website. All of that will be in the show notes, how to do that. And as we always ask, send this podcast to 1 to 3 people need to hear this message. Shoot us a 5-star review on iTunes, and we're out.